That night I learned how silence can be louder than screams. August 1970, Gary, Indiana. The building smelled of sweat, dust, and old wood soaked with dreams that didn't belong to children. I remember the date because it burned itself into me the way certain nights do when you don't yet know they will follow you for the rest of your life. I was there as a brother, not a guardian, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. Michael was 9 years old, 9, too young to carry the weight he was already carrying, too small for the stage that waited hungrily beyond the curtains. From where I stood just off the rehearsal floor, I could see the light bleeding in from the stage lamps, slicing the darkness into sharp angles. Every sound felt amplified, the tap of shoes, the hum of equipment, the low murmur of adults speaking in half commands. Michael stood in the center of the room rehearsing. He didn't complain. He never did. He just nodded, listened, and moved until he didn't. It happened so fast that for a moment I thought my eyes were lying to me. He turned, light on his feet like always, then suddenly his step shortened, his shoulders stiffened, his smile stayed too long, too fixed, and his legs hesitated, not dramatically, no collapse, no obvious fall, just a pause where there shouldn't have been one, a delay so small that most people would miss it. I didn't. He tried again. One step forward, another. His knees trembled, almost imperceptibly, like a wire pulled too tight. Michael kept moving, forcing rhythm where his body was quietly refusing to cooperate. His breath went shallow. The music kept playing, then he stopped. The room didn't. Again, someone said. Michael nodded. I saw his fingers curl at his sides, nails pressing into skin. He shifted his weight, and for a split second, fear crossed his face before the smile snapped back into place. That was when I knew something was wrong. I crossed the room before anyone could stop me. Hey, I said softly, keeping my voice low, harmless. You okay? He looked at me, really looked at me, and the smile cracked just a little. I'm fine, he said too quickly. He tried to step toward me. His legs didn't follow the way they should have. That's the moment people later twisted into rumors. That's where the story grew teeth. Years later, I would hear whispers. Michael Jackson at 9 couldn't move his legs. I need to be clear. What people turned into something extreme was, in reality, something quieter and more frightening. Exhaustion, overuse, a body pushed past the point where a child should ever have been pushed. But standing there that night, facts didn't matter. What did mattered was that my little brother was struggling to stay upright, and the world around him refused to slow down. I guided him off to the side, away from the center of the room, into a narrow hallway where the lights flickered like they were unsure whether to stay on. The music continued behind us. No one followed. Michael leaned against the wall. His breath came in shallow pulls, like he was afraid to take too much air. Sit, I told him. He shook his head immediately. If I sit, he said, barely above a whisper, they'll stop. That sentence hit harder than anything else. They'll stop what? I asked, even though I already knew. They'll stop believing, he said. They'll stop waiting. I crouched in front of him so we were eye to eye. Up close, I could see how pale he'd gone, how sweat darkened the collar of his shirt. His leg was stiff. His feet was planted like they were glued to the floor. Mike, I said, your legs. I can still stand, he cut in, panic flickering just beneath the surface. I just need a second. And I put my hands on his shoulders, feeling how tense he was, like a spring wound too tight. That's when he said it. Don't tell Mom. The words weren't dramatic, they weren't loud, but they were loaded with fear, with calculation, with the understanding of consequences no 9-year-old should possess. I hesitated. That hesitation would haunt me later. Behind us, footsteps approached. Voices. Someone called Michael's name. The door at the end of the hallway opened, spilling light across the floor like an interrogation lamp. Michael straightened immediately. His breathing slowed. His smile came back. It was flawless. He pushed himself off the wall and took a step forward. I watched his legs carefully, expecting them to give out. They didn't. They moved because he forced them to. That's something people don't understand about moments like these. It's not that the body completely fails. It's that it starts negotiating. Every step becomes a decision. Every movement carries a cost. Michael paid that cost without complaint. As we walked back toward the room, he leaned just slightly closer to me. Not enough for anyone else to notice. Just one more run, he whispered. Please. I nodded, not because it was right, not because it was safe, because I didn't know how to say no without breaking something inside him. He stepped back into the light, the music restarted, and the machine kept turning. From the outside, everything looked perfect. The rhythm was tight, the moves were sharp, the smile never faltered. But from where I stood, I saw the truth threading through every step. I saw a child outrunning his own limits, and I knew deep down that whatever happened next, whatever price would be paid, had already been set in motion that night in Gary, Indiana. The stage lights hadn't even come on yet, and already reality was starting to the rehearsal ended without applause. No clapping, no cheers, just the dull scrape of chairs and the murmur of adults already thinking about what came next. To them it was routine. To me it felt like a crime scene after the suspects had calmly walked away. Michael stood perfectly still as the room emptied, too still. His smile faded the moment the last door closed. Whatever had been holding him upright finally loosened. His shoulders dropped, his head tilted forward. I moved toward him instinctively, catching him just as his knees softened. I'm okay, he said again too fast. He always said that first, like a reflex, like a shield. I guided him onto a folding chair near the wall. When he sat, his legs didn't relax the way mine would have. They stayed tense, locked in place, as if letting go meant something irreversible. You feel that? I asked quietly, nodding toward his legs. He nodded once, just once. It's like they're not listening, he said, like they're late. And that sentence sent a chill through me, not because it sounded dramatic, but because it sounded precise. A child trying to explain something his body wasn't built to understand yet. I knelt in front of him and rested my hands lightly on his knees. The muscles were tight, overworked, warm, in that cat, unsettling way that told me they'd been pushed too far too long. You shouldn't go back out tonight, I said. Michael's eyes snapped up to mine. What? There's another run through, I continued. The wants us and was the back out there. He shook his head hard. I have to. No, I said, you don't. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper that felt rehearsed. Careful. If I don't go back, he said, they'll remember this part, not the good parts. This. I opened my mouth to argue, but footsteps echoed down the hall. We weren't alone anymore. A man from the team, clipboard, watch, impatient, stopped near us. His eyes flicked to Michael, then to me. Everything good? He asked. Michael straightened immediately. He planted his feet and stood, a little too stiff, a little too deliberate. Yeah, Michael said brightly. I'm ready. The man nodded, already half turned away. 5 minutes, one more set. 5 minutes. I watched Michael as the man walked off. The smile vanished again. His jaw tightened. See, he said quietly. I can't stop now. I felt something twist in my chest. This wasn't just about pain. This was about survival inside a system that didn't wait for children to catch up. Listen to me, I said, lowering my voice. You don't owe anyone anything right now. Michael stared at the floor. When he spoke again, his voice was steadier but colder. They didn't say that more. There it was. The unspoken rule. I looked down the hall, then back at him. In that moment, I understood how deals were made without contracts, how lines were crossed without anyone stepping forward. This was a whispered agreement. He would keep going. They would keep watching, and everyone would pretend nothing was wrong. I placed a hand on his shoulder. If you go back out, I said slowly, you look at me if something feels off. Don't try to hide it. You look at me. He hesitated, then nodded. I promise, he says. Promises are easy when you're 9. As we walked back toward the rehearsal space, I noticed something small and immediately dangerous. Michael's shoelace had come loose, the end dragging softly against the floor. I reached for it and hold on. Before I could kneel, a hand grabbed my arm. "Don't!" someone hissed behind me. I turned. Another adult, another reminder of the clock. "We're already behind," he said. "It's fine." I looked back at Michael. He followed my gaze, then quickly tucked the lace under his shoe, hiding it. "I'll be careful," he whispered. That made it worse. And he stepped forward into the light again, and the music started like nothing had happened. From the outside, it was seamless, perfect. A machine running exactly as designed, but my focus narrowed to his feet. Every step landed just a fraction too cautiously. Every turn carried the risk of malice. Oh, evikis deso anemevi turn de santiria. The loose lace flicked in and out of view, a quiet threat with every movement. Then it happened. Michael spun, fast, sharp, and his foot slid. Time slowed in that way it only does when disaster's imminent. His balance tipped forward. His arms flared instinctively. I felt my heart slam against my ribs. He should have fallen. Instead, he twisted mid-motion, turning the slip into something else, a glide, a transition, a move that didn't exist a second earlier. The music didn't stop. No one gasped. The room erupted into approval, into impressed murmurs and nods. But I knew the truth. That wasn't creativity. That was adaptation under pressure. That was a child making a split-second decision to survive. Michael finished the set breathing hard, sweat running down his face. When the music finally cut, the room buzzed with satisfaction. People smiled, notes were scribbled, time was saved. Michael walked toward me slower. Now the adrenaline fading. "You saw that?" he asked quietly. "I did," I said. He smiled, not with pride, but with relief. "It worked," he said. I looked at his legs, still tense, still fighting. "For now," I replied. As the lights dimmed and the room emptied again, I felt the weight of what we'd just done settle over me. We hadn't fixed anything. We hadn't stopped anything. We just agreed to keep going. And somewhere between Age-9, music, and the silence, I realized this wasn't just rehearsal anymore. This was the beginning of something darker, and it had been approved by everyone in the room. By the time the next run-through was called, the room felt different, quieter but not calmer. It was the kind of silence that comes after a line has already been crossed, when everyone pretends nothing changed, even though everything did. Michael stood a few feet ahead of me, back straight, chin lifted. From behind, he looked confident, controlled, professional in a way that didn't match his age. From the side, I saw the truth. His legs were rigid again, not shaking this time, locked. Like if they loosened even slightly, they might give up entirely. He shifted his weight carefully, calculating each movement before making it. That scared me more than the stumble, because fear can stop you. Control means you've learned to live with it. The music started. This time I didn't watch his face, I watched his feet. The first sequence went smoothly. Sharp steps, clean turns, the kind of precision people praise without realizing what it cost. Michael moved as if he were counting silently, not beats, but limits. 1 step, 2, hold, release. I could see it now. He wasn't just dancing, he was negotiating. Then came the section I dreaded, the faster footwork, the rapid directional changes. This was where fatigue showed itself. This was where mistakes happened. Michael took a breath. He went in. At first, it looked perfect. His body flowed, muscle memory carrying him forward. The room leaned in, attention sharpened. Then his left foot hesitated just a fraction of a second. Enough. His weight shifted wrong. His heel slid. Gravity leaned forward, ready to collect its due. I felt a cold rush spread through my chest. This was it. This was the fall everyone would remember. Michael's arms lifted instinctively, his torso tilting as his center collapsed inward. For a split second, his eyes flicked toward me. He didn't look scared, he looked focused. Then something impossible happened. Instead of fighting the slip, he went with it. He rotated, and his hip in his foot glide is, instead of stop, reshaped the mistake into motion. His body realigned mid-fall, turning imbalance into momentum. The move wasn't planned. It shouldn't have existed, but it did. The room reacted instantly. Excited murmurs, impressed nods, someone laughing in approval. I couldn't move because what I had just witnessed wasn't talent alone. It was instinct sharpened by pressure. It was a child learning in real time how to rewrite failure before it could be seen. The music ended. Applause broke out. Casual, satisfied, unaware. Michael stood still at the end of the routine, chest rising and falling too fast. His smile came back automatically like a switch flipped by habit, but his legs betrayed him again, stiffening as soon as the movement stopped. When he walked toward me, his steps were slower now, measured. You saw that part? He asked under his breath. I did, I said. His eyes searched my face, not for praise, but for confirmation. It wasn't supposed to be like that, he added quickly, but I fixed it. I swallowed. Yes, I said. You did. He exhaled, relief flooding his expression. Good. Good. The words sat wrong in my mouth. Behind us, voices overlapped, people discussing timing, transitions, logistics. No one mentioned the slip. No one questioned it. To them, it was creativity. To me, it was a warning. We moved back into the hallway again. Michael leaned against the wall, this time not bothering to pretend. His legs stayed straight, in his weight supported by his back and my arm. They feel heavy, he admitted quietly, like they're full. I knew what he meant. Muscles pushed past recovery, flooded with strain, the body's way of saying enough. You need to rest, I said. He nodded but didn't move. I can still stand, he replied. That sentence again, he shifted slightly, testing his legs. Then they responded, but slowly, reluctantly. I figured something out, he said suddenly. I looked at him. What? When they don't do what I tell them, he continued, tapping his temple lightly. I picture the move first, like it's already happening, then I just follow it. My stomach tightened. That's not a trick, I said carefully. That's not something you should have to do. He shrugged, small and tired. It works. And that was the most dangerous part, because it did work, at least for now. I looked at him, this 9-year-old standing in a dim hallway, him bargaining with his own body, and felt a wave of anger I didn't know where to place. Not at him, never at him, at the situation, at myself, at the quiet agreement everyone seemed comfortable making. We stayed there longer than we should have. Eventually someone called his name again, reminding us of time, of expectations. And Michael straightened one last time before stepping away. He looked back at me. Well, don't worry, because he said softly, I won't fall. I wanted to tell him that falling wasn't the worst thing that could happen, but the words didn't come. He walked back into the light, and as I watched him go, one thought settled heavily in my mind, darker than anything I'd felt before. If a child can learn this, how to override pain, how to turn, warning signs into performance, then one day the stage won't just teach him how to fly, it will teach him how to disappear behind the smile. And that realization scared me more than any stumble ever could. By then, the air itself felt tight, like the building was holding its breath. Michael stood beside me near the edge of the rehearsal space, half in shadow, half in light. The noise around us blurred into a dull hum. Voices, footsteps, the scrape of equipment being repositioned. Everyone was preparing for the final run, the one meant to confirm that everything was ready. Ready. I looked at Michael's face. He was calm now, too calm. The kind of calm that comes after fear has been packed away and replaced with focus. His legs, however, told a different story. They were stiff again, planted firmly, as if they needed the floor to promise it wouldn't disappear. It would disappear. As soon as we see, we see he's begin this. Yes, it happened but slowly, deliberately, like he was testing ice before stepping forward. You don't have to do this, I said quietly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stared straight ahead at the empty stage, waiting beyond the rehearsal lights. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, controlled. If I stop now, he said, this is what they'll remember. What? I asked, that I couldn't finish. The words landed heavy. This wasn't about the night anymore. This was about a record being written in his mind, one mistake outweighing everything else. A 9-year-old already thinking in terms of legacy, of reputation, of being replaced without ceremony. That's not true, I said. Michael turned to me then, his expression sharp in a way that didn't belong to a child. They don't forget, he replied. They just move on. That was the moment something inside me shifted. People would later talk about his return to the stage that night as if it defied reality, as if he simply rose above physical limits through talent alone. But standing there, I knew the truth was darker and far more human. This wasn't defiance. This was compliance under pressure. Someone called his name. Final run. Michael inhaled slowly, the way I'd seen him do before difficult parts, deep, controlled, rehearsed. He rolled his shoulders once, loosened his arms. Then, almost casually, he asked me a question that caught me completely off guard. If I don't go out, he said, would you still be proud of me? The room seemed to tilt. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. I hadn't expected that. Not now, not like this. Yes, I said finally. I'd be proud of you even if you never stepped out there again. He studied my face, searching for hesitation, for conditions. I didn't give him any. For a moment, I thought he might stop, that he might choose the chair, the hallway, the quiet. Instead, he nodded slowly. Okay, he said, then I can do this. And that was the twist I hadn't seen coming. He wasn't going back out because he felt trapped. He was going back out because he felt seen. Michael stepped into position. The music began again, louder this time, fuller. The choreography demanded more. Faster transitions, tighter timing, the kind of sequence that punished hesitation. I stood frozen at the side, eyes locked on him. Every move landed, every turn hit its mark. His face stayed composed, his body flowing as if nothing were wrong, but I could see the cost building. By the third sequence, his movements sharpened unnaturally, precision replacing fluidity. His legs moved because they had to, not because they wanted to. When the routine demanded speed, he gave speed. When it demanded control, he locked down harder. No one noticed. They never do. Then near the end, just before the final pose, his foot faltered again. It was subtle, a misalignment only someone watching closely would catch. Michael corrected, instantly adjusting his stance, grounding himself through sheer force of will. The movement looked intentional, strong. The room responded with approval. The music cut, silence followed, then voices, satisfaction, relief. Michael stood at the end of the routine, breathing hard, chest rising rapidly beneath his shirt. His smile appeared again, automatic and convincing, only when he turned and walked back toward me. Did it fade? Up close, I could see how drained he was. His skin was pale beneath the lights, his eyes glassy, not from emotion, but from exhaustion. He stopped in front of me. I did it, he said quietly. Yes, I replied. He hesitated, then added, almost too softly to hear, they worked when I needed them to. I nodded, even as something cold settled in my chest, because I knew what that meant. They hadn't healed, they'd just been overridden. As the room began to clear for the night, Michael leaned closer to me, his voice barely a breath. Promise me something, he said. What? I asked. If I ever go too far, he continued, eyes fixed on the floor, you'll stop me. I didn't answer right away. And then I nodded, and I promised. He seemed relieved by that, like he'd handed me a responsibility he wasn't ready to carry alone. Michael walked away moments later, disappearing into the corridor, his steps careful but steady. People would later call that night proof of his strength, of his ability to push through anything, standing there alone, watching the lights go dark. I understood something far more unsettling. That return to the stage hadn't defied reality. It had taught him how to silence it. And once you learn that, it becomes very hard to hear the warnings ever again. The building emptied the way it always did, slowly and without ceremony. Lights clicked off in sections, voices faded down the hallway, laughter echoed once, then disappeared, as if the night itself was eager to move on. Michael sat on a low bench near the exit, his feet flat on the floor, hands resting on his knees. He didn't swing his legs like a child normally would. He didn't fidget. He stayed perfectly still. From a distance, he looked calm, composed, the image everyone preferred to remember. Up close, I could see the truth again. His legs were rigid, muscles still holding tension long after they were needed. When he shifted slightly, it wasn't casual. It was careful, and that's so deliberate, as if he were asking his body permission before moving. "You okay?" I asked, knowing the answer already. He nodded, then after a beat, nodded again, like he needed to convince himself. They always do. Oh, that word always stuck with me, because always is a dangerous promise. We sat there in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that comes after something irreversible has happened, when neither side knows how to name it yet. Somewhere in the building, a door slammed. The sound echoed, sharp and final. Michael leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes. "I didn't tell anyone," he said suddenly. "Tell anyone what?" I asked. "And that it scared me," he replied. I felt my chest tighten. "You don't have to be scared alone," I said. He opened his eyes and looked at me, not like a child, but like someone older, someone calculating. If they know," he said carefully, "they'll worry." "And that's bad?" I asked. He hesitated. They'll watch me differently," he said. "They'll wait for it to happen again." There it was, not fear of pain, fear of being seen as fragile, fear of being reduced to a problem instead of a solution. I understood then why the rumors would grow later, why people would exaggerate moments like this into something more dramatic, more absolute. Couldn't move his legs, defied reality, miracle return. The truth was harder to sell. The truth was that nothing had been fixed. It had only been hidden. Michael stood up slowly, testing his weight. His legs responded, stiff but obedient. He smiled, small and tired. "See," he said, "they work." I forced a smile back. "Yes," I said, "they do." We walked out into the night together. The air outside was cooler, heavier, pressing down on the skin. After hours under hot lights, Michael took shorter steps now, conserving energy, the adrenaline finally gone. Before we reached the car, he stopped. "Hey," he said. I turned to him. "You won't tell Mom," he said, not as a question, but as a reminder. I paused. "I won't tell her like this," I replied carefully. He frowned slightly. "Like what?" "Like it's nothing," I said. "Or like it's everything." He studied my face, then nodded slowly, as if accepting a compromise he didn't fully understand yet. "Okay," he said. "That night, after everyone went quiet, I stayed awake longer than usual. I replayed the moments over and over, and then the hesitation, the slip, the way he turned danger into performance. People would later praise that instinct. They'd call it genius, control, mastery. But I knew where it started. It started in a rehearsal room in Gary, Indiana, when a 9-year-old learned that if he smiled hard enough, moved precisely enough, no one would ask him to stop. It started when silence felt safer than honesty. That was the real crime of that night. Not that Michael kept dancing, but that everyone, including me, let him learn how to push past the warning signs without calling it what it was. A line crossed, a habit formed, a future quietly rewritten behind the curtain. And as the echoes of that night followed us home, one thought stayed with me, heavier than guilt, heavier than fear. The stage hadn't broken him. It had taught him how to hide,